Pleiades Superstar is the newest addition to the Armory Deck product line. Like Gravy Bones before her, Pleiades is a Blitz and Classic constructed hybrid deck tied directly to the new set Super Slam. This makes the deck great for new players as it can be directly upgraded with the cards released alongside it, making the entry into the game that much easier. Today, I want to take a look at this pre-constructed deck to see if it's worth picking up and if it packs enough of a punch out of the box. But if you're looking to upgrade the deck, then I'd like to direct you to the Fab Workshop YouTube channel run by my friend Jackie. She'll be releasing a video with budget upgrades for the deck in the coming days, so if you want to improve the Pleiades deck without breaking the bank, I highly recommend subscribing to her channel so that you don't miss it. I will link it in the description. Now, for full transparency's sake, this is a review copy that was sent to me early by LSS, but it came with no strings attached. I made certain that I was allowed to say what I needed to, both positive and negative, so that I can give you, the players watching this, my honest review of the Pleiades Armory Deck. The Pleiades Armory Deck comes with an MSRP of $40 to $60 depending on the currency, and comes in the same style box as the rest do, with the CC and Blitz logo in the top left corner. Inside, you'll find a how to play guide similar to the Gravy Bones deck, and then the actual deck itself. While we won't know for certain until the Rhinar Armory deck, at this point I think it's safe to say that these how to play guides are likely only going to be showing up in these hybrid armory decks. I hope I'm wrong, but I do think that including them at least in these is a great step forward, especially considering Blitz is considered as a more entry-level format. And the guide does give players a solid rundown of the basics of the game, so I am glad to see it included here. As for the deck, it starts off with the Blitz portion, and it comes with a Rainbow Foil Young Pleiades, Rainbow Foil Moment Maker, and then 4 Rainbow Foil equipment pieces. After that, there's the 40 card Blitz deck, followed by a couple deckless cards with tokens on the back, and then the adult Pleiades and 20 cards for Classic Constructed after it. Those 20 cards also come with the little CC logo at the bottom, making it easier to convert the deck back to Blitz. Like the past few Armory decks, Pleiades doesn't come with any Rainbow Foil versions of the main deck cards, and it seems like this is how it will be moving forward. I will say, I really did enjoy getting a Rainbow Foil copy of the cards, but if Gem Pack 3 and Loot the Hold is any example, LSS might be saving Rainbow Foils for other things. Still though, I do miss them being an include. As for the deck itself, there are a couple important things to mention. First is the exclusive, those being Moment Maker, Standing Ovation, Superstar, and Red Boulder Drop, a card we only had in blue. Normally, the equipment would also be exclusive to the deck, but it seems as if they've been included in the main set as well this time, just not in Rainbow Foil. As for reprints, well, this is where I just have to give a mwah, chef's kiss. 2 copies of both Spinal Crush and Terra Sunder? Now that is how you do it. At the time of making this video, Spinal Crushes are only about $6 at the lowest, but Terra Sunders are $12 or so, making these on the low end about $36 worth of reprints, which covers most of the cost of the deck itself. But the thing is, these are the prices with Guardian not being at the top of the meta, and if they start to become far more popular with Super Slam, these cards would get even more expensive without the reprints. And the fact that they included 2 in each deck instead of just 1 is incredible. I am genuinely impressed with LSS's track record with reprints in these decks, and I very much hope we see this continue. Getting a good chunk of value when you buy a precon like this makes getting into the game even easier, and I cannot commend this enough. But the real question is, do these reprints help make the deck playable out of the box? Well, that's what I wanted to test out, so I played it at my armory and got a few extra games to give it a try. I also do want to quickly say that I only tried this deck out in Classic Constructed, as no one around here plays Blitz, but I do think everything I'm about to say applies to whichever way you're playing the deck. The Pleiades Armory Deck is a setup and slam style of play where you want to time your powerful buffing auras with your devastating crush effects and confidence tokens. It's a lot to put together all at the same time, but while you're doing that, you can rely on some of your board state auras with lasting effects and Moment Maker to still take a swing. Playing the deck felt almost like a Guardian version of Azalea, where instead of playing your pumps and sending 1 arrow with an on hit, you're balancing suspense counters to have your auras pop on the turn you want to send a gigantic crush effect. When everything works, I found this deck felt incredible. I mean, Spinal Crush for 14 with confidence is no joke. And if you're able to send a few of those massive attacks with some swings of your weapon in between, you can very well take down fully tuned decks. I also really enjoyed the board state auras, To Be Continued, The Suspense Is Killing Me, and What Happens Next. As a certified illusionist simp, I mean, look at the posters behind me. I love having auras out on the field, and the fact that you have control over them with Pleiades' ability is amazing. It adds so much depth and complexity to the deck that I really enjoy, even if it makes it a little harder to play at first. The magic number to hit for auras is 3, which does 2 things. The first is it turns on Moment Maker, allowing it to swing for 6 with the on hit of making a confidence token. If one of your auras is the suspense is killing me, that 6 becomes 7, and that breakpoint is super relevant because, as I'll discuss in a moment, confidence tokens are, how do I say this nicely, kinda nutty. The other card that rewards you for hitting that 3 aura sweet spot is Standing Ovation. This 6 cost 8 power attack has the insane on hit that if you've had 3 auras of suspense pop on the same turn, you get to take an extra turn, which sounds way more powerful than I actually found it to be. See, your opponent gets to draw up to their intellect before your second turn, which, to be fair, prevents the card from being the most broken thing we've ever seen in this game. But what I kept finding is that since you need 3 auras to leave on one turn, you basically have nothing left when you start your second. Every time I took an extra turn, I'd end up using the second one to just set back up, meaning that my opponents took some damage, but got to start their turn with a full grip. Now, I'm sure that if I played more games, there would be times I took extra turns and got to follow it up with a second big attack, but it wasn't as strong as I thought it would be. But I think a part of this was also just how I was playing the deck, and I'm sure I'm not the only one who will do this. See, every time I got Standing Ovation and enough auras to make it work, I just tunneled into that strategy immediately and did not change anything from there. I'm sure that the more skilled a player is with Pleiades, the more they'll actually know when to take the opportunity or when to block with or pitch the Standing Ovation. We'll say, however, taking an extra turn with an on hit feels really goddamn awesome. Of course, you also have options for disrupting your opponents instead. Fault Line, Boulder Drop, and Spinal Crush all have incredible effects that can shut down your opponent's turn and give you the tempo. Terra Sunder is especially nasty as it can be used on any Guardian attack, including Moment Maker. Forcing your opponent to take damage and discard 2 cards from hand feels straight up mean, which is ironic considering Pleiades is a revered hero. However, there is one piece to all of this that is needed to make the deck work properly: confidence. These wonderful little tokens pop on your turn and make it so your next attack action card can't be defended by more than 2 non-block cards. And considering block cards aren't run in most decks, this basically ensures you're gonna hit. Because unlike Dominate and Overpower, confidence bypasses extra blocks from equipment. So if you have, say, a +4 aura pop on your turn and you send a Spinal Crush with confidence, your opponent is going to have their turn ruined whether they like it or not. But this brings us to the first issue I had with the deck. I kept finding that if I didn't make confidence, my opponents were able to block pretty much everything I threw at them. Without it, I almost never got any crush effects, and so it became very clear very early just how important generating these tokens was. Unfortunately though, I do feel this is just a bit lacking with this deck out of the box. There are 14 cards in total in the deck that generate confidence tokens, including the weapon. But the problem is, it's not all super consistent. Moment Maker, Comeback Kid, and Uplifting Performance are all attacks that can generate the tokens, with Comeback Kid being the easiest since all you need to do is attack while at lower life. Moment Maker is definitely powerful when active, but needing 3 auras is hefty. Uplifting Performance at least just needs to hit, and I did find myself sending it a few times just for the confidence. That leaves us with just 7 copies of cards that can easily and reliably generate our tokens with very little drawback: Superstar, Turning Point, and the 1 copy of Thespian Charm. Superstar plays the role of being both an aura and making a confidence on enter and leave, and it can even be free to play with what happens next. Turning Point works like Comeback Kid, where if you're lower life, the crowd cheers you, but it is so much easier to do this by blocking. Plus, Turning Point blocks 5 if you're at lower life, which is just insanely great. As for the 1 copy of Thespian Charm, well, this is actually the best card to make confidence with because it's literally just free and comes with other upsides. I do wish that they had 3 copies of the card in the deck, as it would help a lot, but I can understand the business decision of wanting people to open packs. Thankfully, the card is a super rare, so I don't imagine it being more than a couple bucks. But I really can't stress just how different this deck is when you generate confidence and when you don't. This token makes all of your attacks actually work, as you force your opponent to take a bunch of damage and you still get the disruption. But there were a couple games where I just couldn't make any for the first half or so of the game, and it put me in a position where I couldn't really come back from it. One other smaller issue I have with the deck is that I was finding that I would have at least liked a single play set of defense reactions, Turning Point is incredible, and there is a one-of copy of Never Give Up, but that card needs to be in the grave first to use it. I just kept finding myself getting a bit blown out by attack reactions. In fact, my buddy who's been playing Bolton since Monarch beat me 2 out of 3 games thanks to those attack reactions. That said, the armor does help a lot with blocking, and in fact, these pieces are all just really solid. The fact that you can trade suspense counters for abilities is really cool, and it helps with the aura manipulation for when you want to force your buff auras to pop. The headpiece can even help you keep an aura around, which is very useful at times. I also like that you can use the chest to either play an aura or to activate the legs. I will admit though, the toughness tokens from the legs are fine, but I found myself not using the ability very often. Thankfully, they still just block 3. Now, looking at the strategy of buffing your attacks and auras, this brings me to the final issue I had with the deck, although this is more a weakness of the hero herself rather than an issue with the Armory deck specifically. Remember how I said this felt like Azalea but for Guardians? Well, Pleiades is similar to Azalea, where if you can line up your buffs and disruption turn after turn, your deck is amazing. But the problem comes when you don't line these cards up. Moment Maker definitely helps a ton on the off turns, but in the games where I just didn't generate many confidence tokens or line up my auras with my powerful crush effects, my opponent was just able to block me out for a turn and they were fine. And if you can't get the tempo early enough, you might not be able to get back into the game at all, especially once you get to lower life. Again though, this is just more of a natural downside to Pleiades' playstyle in general, but I did want to mention it so you'd at least know what to expect in some games. However, I want to stress that when you do line up your boulder drops with an active glory and a confidence, you are going to decimate your opponents. While I unfortunately didn't get it on camera, I had a turn in my very first game with the deck where I swung for 19. Like seriously, some of the stuff you can do with this deck is just disgusting. All in all, I think Pleiades is actually a pretty well-built armory deck. Even the games that I lost didn't feel totally helpless, and even then, I still won a good amount of them with this deck as is. It is definitely not lacking in the power department. The Pleiades Armory deck is surprisingly robust and feels like it can absolutely pack a punch when played well. There's a surprising amount of depth and strategy to managing your auras, and when you line everything up, the deck feels incredible. The armor is very solid, the weapon is really good, and the reprints are some of the best we've seen yet. While I do wish confidence tokens were a little easier to generate, it's not like it makes this deck unplayable. Even a new player picking this up and playing it out of the box with some practice can start winning games without making any changes. And so, despite the couple of small flaws, I found this to be quite the impressive precon, and I can't stress enough that I'm not a Guardian player. I expected to have a mediocre time with Pleiades, but I was pleasantly surprised I actually enjoyed playing this deck. If you're looking to play this hero, or even if you just want access to a bunch of the cards and reprints for a different Guardian, I think it's definitely worth a pickup. There isn't much in terms of generics though, so if you aren't interested in Guardians, it would probably be better for you to find a different armory deck that appeals to you. And again, if you're looking to upgrade this Pleiades deck, like adding in 2 more Thespian charms, then you really should go and subscribe to the Fab Workshop and keep an eye out for Jackie's video. I've seen her upgraded list and it looks really solid. The link to her channel will be in the description, so go check that out. With all that said, I hope you found this video helpful and thank you for watching. And an extra special thanks to all of my Chadley patrons. Huge shout outs to the GigaChads Geeks First, Elixir, Vinny, John, Ty, Chemical, Dark Memoria. Then we've got the Alpha Chads, Thomas, Zajima, and Approximo, and then there's the Super Chads, CC, Ben, Yogbadoodles21, Kevin, and Wolf Shadowmancer. Thanks again as always, and stay Chadly, my friends.